Hey guys, welcome back to the bench. I'm Jay, and on the bench today, we're going to talk about calipers. We're going to talk about name brand calipers versus your non-name brand calipers. So, starting off, thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate having you back on the bench with me. So, let's get into it. In this video, we're going to talk about, again, name brand versus non-name brand. We're going to go over the best case futures for both of them. We're also going to go over when and where you should use, when and where you should purchase a name brand, higher end quality calipers versus being okay with a lower end set. We're also going to talk about the features on the calipers that you get with a higher end versus a lower end set of calipers. The differences you're going to get is going to be manufacturing. Now, let's start off by saying that when it comes to manufacturing, when you're dealing with the cheaper brands or no name brand calipers for that matter, manufacturing has come a long ways. A lot of countries now have the technology and the skill set to make finer instruments, something they didn't necessarily have, 20 or 30 years ago. With that being said, again, when you're purchasing the higher end, especially like the stairs and things like that, you're paying for reliability and repeatability consistently. That's what you're paying for. So, first of all, if you're going to be using a cheaper set, like this is, I believe I got this particular set, these 12 inches from Harbor Freight, and they're so non-name brand that they don't even have a name on them or a manufacturing or a serial number. They have nothing on them indicating where they came from and where they are made. And I have searched and looked all over these things, and there's not one marking at all. So let's talk about what you get when it comes to a name brand versus a non-name brand set of calipers, or more expensive brand versus a non-name brand calipers. So starting off, some of the very first thing you're going to get that you're going to notice is going to be the manufacturing of the calipers themselves. So for an example, we can look at the material. So you notice on these Metatoto calipers, stainless steel. Now, I am somebody that if I touch metal, I have a lot of acid in my skin. I will make metal rust very easily. I've never had a problem with pitting or any kind of rust with this particular set of calipers because it's a more expensive brand. They use a higher quality of steel and stainless steel in their products. When it comes down to the inside calipers, if you notice, and you might be able to see this, but you will see, let's see if I got me a little pick. You may be able to see it, but along here you'll see a lot of pitting, and hopefully that's showing up in the video. But you see a lot of pitting around here and a lot of rust. And that is because, and I've gone over this, you see some right here too also. Now I've gone over this with some Scotch-Brite and actually cleaned it up. And, these is a good set of calipers. I had to use these for probably about a decade or more. And they're very good calipers. But one thing is, because they're not the name brand calipers, again, like Starrett and whatnot, the quality in their steel that they use is one of the things that stands out when it comes to the manufacturing process. Something else that when it comes to the manufacturing process that kind of stands out when you're dealing with the higher end versus lower end calipers is the gears, or how smooth rather that not gears, how smooth the mechanism is for moving your calipers. It's going to be very hard to tell on this video. It's one of those things you got to get your hands on and kind of feel it for yourself. But especially when you're pushing in, you definitely can feel the difference in the quality and the mechanisms on the inside. It's a lot smoother, and you can kind of see it on the face too. How it kind of tends to jump around a little bit more. It's not as smooth. The next thing we're going to talk about. Okay? So when you're dealing with a set like this, that's a no-name brand. The screw here is very sloppily made. Okay, now it locks, it holds, yes, but a few turns out and it feels like it's about to fall out. You could probably even see it wiggles a little bit. You can kind of see that in the video. But these, you don't have that problem because these are very well made. So the next thing you notice when you're dealing with a higher end set of calipers versus the non-name brand calipers is you're going to get a certificate of certification when you purchase the name brand set of calipers. Okay, like I said, your Browning stop, your Browning Starretts, Metatorio's calipers, you're going to get a certificate showing you that they have been checked by hand by a person and certified to be correct. That is something you also get. You get a person actually checking each individual set of calipers, laying their hands on them, checking, making sure that they are accurate when you purchase them. Versus when you have a set of no name brand calipers, you may get somebody who may run them in and out to make sure that they, smoothly go in and out. You may have somebody who checks them maybe with a standard that they have, but necessarily it's probably more of a, the standard may not necessarily be accurate, or they may not even do it at all, and you have no way of knowing. And a lot of times when you purchase the no name brand calipers, you don't get a certificate for certification. So who's to say they even did it? Okay. With the certification, another thing that you get with the higher end set of calipers is the you can tell they have a better set of quality control. So one thing you've noticed is on these particular set of calipers, and they may be hard to see, but it tells you where it's made. It's one of the things that it tells you. Okay, and I believe these are made in Brazil. I believe that's what it says. It's made in Brazil. It tells you where it's made, and you also get a serial number and a batch number on them. As you notice on the non-name brand ones, you do not get such markings. Okay, so that's definitely the difference in quality right there starting off. There's no, markings as far as the batch number or anything on these non-name brand. You get when you're dealing with a higher end set of calipers versus a non-name brand is right here. You'll notice that you get your millimeters up top and you get your inches at the bottom. And if you notice, you don't get that on either one of the the non-brand ones. If you notice, okay. Also, I want to point out too with this, you can even see a little bit. It says stainless steel, but you can even see a little bit of pitting, even right here. And also, I was talking about the manufacturing and the quality of the materials earlier. So when you're dealing also with a higher end, what you're going to notice also is that you're going to get the markings and the etching on your calipers are going to be a lot more finely engraved, and hopefully that shows up fairly well. When you're dealing with the thumb rest, if you notice on something that's not name brand, you barely have a thumb rest on this particular set of calipers. Hopefully that will show up. But in comparison to this one, the name brand, the higher end one, look at how nice and big that is in comparison. The face dial. Now, I will say this as far as the one thing I do not like about the higher end calipers versus the cheaper set is this particular set. If you notice on the face dial right here, you can unscrew the screw and rotate it, but it's very smooth. And I do not like that because when you're in a machine shop, sometimes you might get grease or oil on your hands. And if you're ever trying to mess with this face or this dial, you have no kind of any type of grip or anything like that on it. So, for example, you can look at this right here, these inside calipers, and this is nice and big. And hopefully that is showing up in the video. Hopefully that's showing how nice and big and checkered that is. So you get a nice feeling on that if you need to rotate that dial. Even this cheaper set that doesn't have no name on them even has a little bit of a checkered pattern on it. So, which one is best for you? Well, I think it depends on what you're doing. If you're a carpenter, maybe you're starting off, you don't use them every day. You just want something that is can kind of get you roughly in the ballpark of what you need. Maybe you work with like tubing or something like that. You don't really measure, that down to the accuracy, or you don't need that much precision. By all means, you can get yourself a cheaper set of calipers. Uh, Something like this, perfect. You do not need to go out and spend a whole bunch of money getting higher end calipers for something that is reliable. Again, I have been using this set for probably, like I said, 8 years or more. This is the set that I started off when I started in machining. And, I was young, starting off, I had a family, didn't have a lot of money in my pocket, but I had to, get something. And these helped me through and worked great. So I would highly recommend the Insize calipers. They're a little cheaper than, like I said, the name brand ones, but they are just as good. So, what kind of person would need a set of non-name brand calipers versus somebody who may want to go the route of spending the extra money on the name brand calipers? So, for an example, I have a set. I have these two sets that are, I would say, not name brand. Well, one is a name brand, but it's not very well known. Um, when I'm using my calipers, if I'm using something on a day to day, if you're a machinist, you're working like aerospace or something like that, you need to go with the higher end set of calipers. Yes, I do have these in my box in the shop. I also have a set of, I can't think of the name of them right now that we use in the shop, but they're also kind of off brand. Um, but they get certified through QC. Okay. So if you have a QC department who can check your things with standards for you, you'll be fine. Every so often, you'll send in your non name brand calipers, get them checked. They'll check them off. You'll be fine. Also depends if you can use them. Some shops won't allow you to use them. You only can use their equipment. There are several different ways you can use calipers when you're machining or when you have them. So first obvious one is the regular standard way that you can use a set of calipers, which is like this. The next way you can use them is this little back edge right here. You can use that by pressing them up against and to check the, for example, you probably could check depth that way or how deep something may be. The next way you can use a set of calipers is with the depth gauge. Okay, for with the depth gauge to measure down into a hole or a pocket. The last way you can use a set of calipers is on the back end or the top of your calipers is typically used for measuring the ID or the hole of something. So for an example, this would be a good way of using them. If you want to measure the spacing between here, you can use the calipers on the back end. Channel, this has helped you out determine which ones you need to purchase for yourself. By all means, like, subscribe. I would love to have you on the channel. Until then, guys, be safe. I will see you again.